Welcome, everybody, to the July 19th Town Board Business Meeting. Go ahead and start the meeting with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'll open the meeting with the opportunity for privilege of the floor. I have Matt Mix on the list.
Okay. You want me to stand in the corner?
You can stand right there.
Well, I'm gonna leave after this anyways, so I got other things I gotta help do. So we've had some discussions in the agricultural advisory meeting and things like that. You've been around for these discussions. I just want to relay a little information to this town board. These are all estimated numbers. About 1970, 75, there was 800 dairy cows in the town of Carolina. There are currently just a few odd cows here and there. We've lost approximately 1/3 of our agricultural land to housing, growing up, and other uses where it's just evaporated. So we hear how zoning will help protect farmland. It's not going to protect it. Farmers protect farmland. People in agriculture who work land, who care about it, protect it. Everybody else doesn't care. Number two, we talk about fire EMS in this town and to strengthen it. What makes it strong is volunteers. We don't have any. We need them. People need to get involved. And when people start talking about how to fix the problems until you've been there, time and time again, seen the blood, heard the screams, dealt with the stress, dealt with the heat of the fires, and your friends have been hurt and whatever else, you don't understand the problems that have to be dealt with to deal with it. So in all our discussions about zoning board and everything else, keep these things in mind. There's a whole lot more than what you're aware of because you haven't been involved in it. You've talked about water quality. Water quality is got a lot to do with how people take care of their land. Farmers take care of their land. Agriculture takes care of their land. A lot of homeowners, they don't take care of their land. They throw their shit in the corner, done. They don't think about it, it leaches. Other people, similar things. Most people try to be that way, but there are a group that doesn't really pay attention to where it's going. So when you talk about all of this, please keep this stuff in mind. That there's a lot of other concerns, and I would love to take any of you for a ride and do some show and tell. And if you're willing, call me. You know how to get a hold of me, the wife, or my phone number. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Mark, Renee Farrow has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Can you unmute her?
I'm unmuted, I believe.
Okay, go ahead, Renee.
I was just so interested in the Mr. Mix's comments, and I just wanted to kind of share my own perspectives, which is certainly not as a farmer. But I will say that as a young child growing up through middle school, my uncle and both uncles actually ran one of the largest dairy farms in Cortland County, the Bill Brothers Dairy. And it's interesting as a family member to watch what happened to dairy farms and and that technology has changed so radically, at least from my perspective in watching our own, family kind of go through that, and the process of the farm actually completely dissolving, and then the land being sold off. And I will say that Cortland State actually bought a lot of the land that our family farm owned. But, that's not the point. The point is that technology changes, and I think our perceptions of agriculture and farming might change. And I don't know about Mr. Mix, but in my wonderful travels around the town as an artist who takes a lot of photographs of nature, and I see a lot of other kinds of animals, sheep, lambs. I've seen more horse farms and horses. It's just absolutely incredible. And whether people own one or two, or they own a large number of these animals, I still consider those to be really interesting ways of farming and what, agriculture might mean. So that was one response. The other response is, in terms of homeowners not being responsible for water, I just totally disagree. I think that so many of us who've lived here, whether it's for 1 year or for 50 years, realize that we are on a well. We are on a well system and a sewage system, and that one has to be sustainable with the way one uses water, especially when there's a drought. And so I think that a lot of these issues directly affect not only agriculture and farms, but also homeowners. So, and even people who rent, no one wants their water or the well to run dry. So anyway, just a couple of quick comments, kind of off the cuff, just because I was inspired by Mr. Mix's perspective, which I totally respect and totally, understand. But I just think that there are so many other perspectives throughout the town. So anyway, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Renee. Anybody else? Peter Hoyt?
Very quickly, would the town board please clarify what the policy is on speakers using drones to the floor to comment directly on other speakers?
This has come up. I will comment on that briefly. So I will say that in general, I think it's a good policy not to respond to other speakers, that it should be an opportunity for people to speak their mind or provide information to the board, and the board can reflect on that. And if somebody wants to provide information later, then they can do so. So that's my feeling. As I said before at the prior meeting, speakers, I don't want speakers to feel, attacked. Should be a safe space for people to speak to the board. But it's also, fair for people to provide information. But I do think in general, I would encourage people not to engage with each other at privilege of the floor. It should be an opportunity to provide information to the board that you've come to the meeting with. So
Thank you. The enforcement appears somewhat inconsistent, but thank you for the thought.
yeah, well, I have pointed this out several times and enforced it as in egalitarian a way as I can. So anyone else want to address the board? Great, thank you. All right. I do want to start the meeting by acknowledging the 4 people who applied to fill Catherine's seat on the town board. Bruce Murray, Jonathan Bates, Beth Harrington, and Michelle Brown. And so the board has selected Michelle to fill that seat. And so I welcome you to the board, Michelle. And again, I thank the 4 people who presented themselves for that position. So would you like to join us up here?
Is it appropriate for me to say thank you very much, and I appreciate it, and I'll work really hard.
Okay.
Great to have you up here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else you'd like to say?
I can't think of anything, just. Yeah, I'll just try really hard to do what's good for the town and for what's good for the board.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, I'm gonna, my report and the other reports, I'm gonna move the first business item up to the first agenda item at tonight's meeting. That's the resolution of support for a New York State Consolidated Funding Grant application for the continued rehabilitation of the Old Town Hall, this building. And we are fortunate to have had Susan Holland helping us with that, since she's here tonight. Welcome, Susan. And so the grant application is coming to fruition. It's due soon. And so one formality we have to do is this resolution, so that the funding agency actually knows that the board is aware of the application, because according to Susan, apparently sometimes that doesn't happen. And there is a 50% cost share, so the town has to be willing and ready to make that commitment. And so I think I've summarized the meat. The 50% cost share is the meat. I also want to say that architect Steve Gibeon, Councilwoman Cal Snow, they've been working together with Susan to develop a plan for the building. And Steve's been out here numerous times examining the building, and we've all been scratching our heads, and we had a big list, and then what we have presented tonight, I feel really good about. We've cut it down to what we think the building really needs, and will be a really great value for the town. So and the total estimate at this point, we can only estimate, but we did get a responsible estimate. And I'm trying to find that number. It comes up to about $750,000. So the town share would be half of that. And so, Susan, thanks for joining us tonight. Do you want to describe more, or sort of describe what we're kind of planning for the building?
Sure, yeah, I can do that.
Great.
Do you need to stand up? Yeah.
Sure.
So we're applying first for a Regional Economic Development Council's consolidated funding application, which is a really competitive grant for the Regional Economic Development Councils. It's New York State money under the Environmental Protection Fund, which is actually federal money for historic preservation. So it's a matching grant depending on what you look like in your census tract. Somehow we have 0% poverty right here. I think it's underrepresented, but nothing I can do about this, the census tracts. Out of our control. So we had looked at we just started talking about some of the improvements you needed to make. There's a lot of alterations on the building that are from the town's owned it since 1966. And in 76, volunteer labor and some revenue sharing labor came in here and retrofitted this building. It's the former District number 2 school for Dryden and Caroline. How many times have I written that this week? And so we're going to fix some of the clapboards that you see outside. We're gonna do some weatherization, hopefully with insulation, because you do have geothermal heat pumps here, which is a great start. I know the state is very excited about sustainability initiatives. We're going to regrade outside so the rain stops splashing the foundation and making further deterioration. So the building is in pretty good shape overall from what I've seen in the past, other buildings, but it still needs a lot of work. And so, you maintain it, you put this work in, and it's good for 30, 35 years at least, doing all of the work with a great contractor and good architect. So the plan would be to first do a request for qualifications for an architect, which can be about 15% of the project. They go out, hopefully we get a good one. Then you do the construction documents, it goes out for public notice and public bidding, a very, very strict procedure. And then somebody bids it out and we hope we come in on the number that we've estimated from the grant, and we go forward with the project. So a lot of administration, we're hoping that Historic Ithaca can do the administration, but you know, in partnership with the town hall, because there'll be a lot of that work going back and forth.
Yeah.
So
That would be my hope too.
yeah, and the match is a 50-50, so on 750,000, which is an estimate from a great preservation contractor that I worked with. Historic Ithaca did the Cascadilla Boathouse with the same funding stream. We wrote the application, you know, she works for Friends of Durham Park. So, and we worked on that over the pandemic, actually, and got it done on time with supply lines and stuff. It was a good. Yes, you know, so, yeah, we have a lot of, you guys have a lot of money kicking around over there. So hopefully we're successful. And we've talked to one of the heads of the regional Economic Development Council. I let them know in the regional office as well. So we shall see. So, good luck to us. And
Great.
it's due next Friday. I think it's 4, but my calendar says noon.
Okay,
So I'm shooting for it because you do not want to press that play.
great.
So.
Thanks so
anything
much,
else?
Susan. Yeah, so any questions for Susan?
I had just a question about the alternates. At the
Yeah.
bottom of the
Oh, yeah, yes.
add alternates, so is
Yeah.
that something that would go into the grant, or how does that?
No, I'm gonna keep that out for now, because that's even a bigger ticket item, so that would add another, I think it's $180,000 onto it. Yeah, yeah, you take out the one, you take out the
other one.
Yeah, you take out number 5 and add,
Okay,
Oh, I see, yeah.
I see, yeah.
Okay.
So that's a really big ticket. What I'm hoping, what I foresee happening is that the architect, you have a preservation architect, they come in here, they tell us what the exact appropriate detail and work is on that, and then they spec it, we get a bid on, and the state says, okay, you can do it that way. But there's, you know what, insulation is one of the most, I think, one of the most, it's not controversial, one of the hardest,
Yeah.
difficult issues with old buildings at the moment.
Yes.
There's not a perfect solution.
Right.
So,
Okay, so you're saying the architect that would be engaged would basically make the decision?
along with the town, of course.
Yeah,
Of course,
well-
and then the State Historic Preservation
Okay.
Office, yeah. Yeah, so the State Historic Preservation Office reviews the bid documents, reviews everything, tells us yes or no. If we have any emergent conditions, they, you know, weigh in on it. We did lose our good regional person. She retired. But you know, you just keep, it's a back and forth, a lot of back
Okay.
and forth. So yeah,
Great, and
that answer your question.
Yes.
do you feel that the alternate would detract from the goals of historic preservation compared to the non-alternate?
Okay, so I'm not the state.
Okay.
And I haven't run it up Latree with anybody.
Yeah.
And we're at the point where I'm not sure I can actually ask the state with the grant cycle. I'm suspecting it would make them a little bit nervous right now. But again, they know that we're coming in with an estimate. I'm gonna add it into the narrative,
Okay,
talk about the cost sharing and say, there's a possibility that this might happen. So, you know,
okay,
what do you think, basically? And then we'll just leave it at that. So that would raise it 100,000. But again, you know, you're talking 2 years out. Also, probably for the earliest you could do construction from like today with, you know, all the bidding and documents and the drawing them up and engaging and RFPs and all that stuff.
July 19th.
July 19th, 20, put me on that, what's that, 2025?
I mean, the splash pad has been getting.
Yes, Tanya's working on Spirit Park stuff and yes, it's a long lead time sometimes and the permitting sometimes, yeah. Yeah, so.
Who says a question?
What's the alternate that you're talking about?
The alternate would be
Can I give him a call?
to, well, it'd be to, instead of repairing the siding, it'd be taking all the siding off and then putting sheathing on, insulating, wrapping it, and then, putting the exterior clapboards back on, so,
And it's kind of tricky with an older building. This is a tight building. This is no, they haven't been touched since 1869, so hardly, so.
But you were saying you were gonna just replace some side?
Just some had to be repaired. If you look like, I forget what side it's on, there's some that are kind of coming off. And then over the Bilco door, they're all moldy and stuff. We don't know what the condition of that is yet, so.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be a really thorough study too. That's what you get with
Yeah.
this money, is a super thorough study of this building. You know, a better than you've kept it. And
yeah,
it's only had deferred maintenance. It's not, you know, there's no threat to demolition. It's good. The contractor that I was working with for the estimates was just in awe of how great the building was, so.
that's great.
Yeah.
So, oh, did you get a question?
No.
I would,
I have a question.
what Steve Gibeon had mentioned that in relation to your comment about insulating, being tricky landscape, basically, that he was concerned about putting blown cellulose in there, because if it gets wet, there's nothing to keep it from getting wet. He liked having it open, so it would dry, the wood would dry out, so it's,
That can be sealed up though.
and this, I mean, it actually occurred to me, it might be good to do a current blower door test
Yes.
to see what the need really is
Yeah.
and quantify it, so.
Do that. I'm sure that would be involved.
Yeah, that's also gonna be in the narrative. about
Okay.
Doing a blower test to have the test the thermal performance out. I think this building is super comfortable, but in
Yeah.
the summer, but that's me.
It is.
But I don't know, like, I think like exploring the thermal performance, hopefully in coming months, there'll be more money to do some of these. Because they've got lots of money at the federal level for environmental and weatherization and energy, that with the Inflation Reduction Act, so
Great.
we shall see.
I just have a quick question. In the alternate version, when it says insulate stud kit, what kind of insulation is that? Fiberglass or?
I don't know, actually, I do not know the answer to that, I apologize that I don't.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
okay.
It's, again, for now, the people that we've spoken to so far is a less preferred way of doing it. But, you know, the taking it all off and putting it back.
It
on.
is, okay,
Yeah, oh, yeah, but again, we're gonna let the historic preservation architect, who is the real expert, is gonna, you know, once we get that person as an architect, they're gonna let us know. Hopefully we bid high enough, you never know when the estimates come in, sadly. I had a contractor who works on old buildings every day,
Mhm.
and he did lots of calculations, we might have been a little bit high. Steve Gibeon, the architect here, thought that it was a little high,
Right.
so that's good, because
Yeah,
then we can cover our
That's a
costs.
good way to go.
Yeah, yeah. So it's almost exactly the projects. that we're
Okay.
doing.
Thank you so
Great.
much for
Oh, you're
this.
welcome.
This is incredibly well done. It's
Oh,
just
yes.
amazing.
Well, it's a lot of. They had a lot of help. Thanks,
Yeah.
thank you for doing it too.
Susan's been bearing down on it. So, thank you very much. So, so Susan did mention, seeker the complying with the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So, where is it? So anyway, so and so from what I understand, this project would be considered under seeker to be a type 2 action, which is it's on a list of type 2 actions are considered no impact, and so you don't have to do review. So but I want to make sure, it does recommend that you make a note of this in your minutes. So I'd like to add this to the minutes, that the project is considered under seeker to be a type 2 action under section 617.5. And I have this all written down, Jesse. And then C2, which is rehabilitation, replacement rehabilitation, or construction of a structure or facility in kind on the same site, including upgrading buildings to meet building, energy, or fire codes, unless such action meets or exceeds any of the thresholds in section 617.4 of this part. And that is part 1, which I looked up. And so, and those are massive projects, so it does not exceed the dimensions or disruption, the type 1 action. So I will have that added as a note prior to this resolution. So I will offer the resolution for support of a New York State Consolidated Funding Grant application for the continued rehabilitation of the Old Town Hall, Town of Caroline, 2670 Slaterville Road, Slaterville Springs, New York, 14881.
Second.
Seconded by Tim. And it's a, Susan drafted this resolution for me. It's a doozy. So I think we've really covered it in Susan's comments and my comments, so I'm not going to read the whole resolution. It's in the agenda. And we have mentioned the relevant numbers. So it'd be a project authorization of $750,000. With the understanding these funds will be made available in the first instance of the project by the town. The town will submit for reimbursement a return of 50% of the expended project funds, not to exceed $375,000. So.
Mark, do you remember on the top of your head what our balance is for a current?
Yeah, I
reserve?
looked it up. It's like 900. So.
That's great.
So, and plus we have, so we have, I think it's 30,000 in this year's town hall reserve, and then we have 109,000 in the reserve. That's in the budgeted expenditure account. The 30. Then there's 109. So that's like 140,000 there.
Yeah.
So we, you know,
Can you tell me exactly what the town hall reserve is?
it's just money that we set aside
Mhm.
for maintenance of the town hall.
Okay, and so it's been
Yeah.
building up for a number
Yeah.
of years, okay.
It'll
So,
take
yeah.
2 more years to build this up anyway, so
Yeah,
by the
that's what I
time
say.
it
Yeah.
just came through at full speed and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
At this rate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we have 2 of these funds that we put in the expenditure line every year. So we do that, the other one is $65,000 for the highway barns, so
Right,
that one, we also have the nest egg for that. All right, any other questions? Okay, if there are none, I will call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great, no objections. Thank you.
But let's be noted that Michelle just took her first vote on the town board.
It's the top.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Susan, very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks so much.
So much.
Be in touch tomorrow.
Okay.
There's way more to do on there.
All right, well, we have another, a kind of a parallel resolution. Good night, Susan.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
See you. Thank you.
thank you, Susan.
Resolution of support for a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Water Quality Improvement Project grant application for a South Road culvert replacement. So I'll move that resolution.
Yes, I'll second it.
And Tim seconded it. The text is a very simple. Resolve, the town of Caroline hereby supports an application for funds through the Water Quality Improvement Program of New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to support the replacement of South Road culvert for approximate cost of $100,000, which would include a 25% match from the town. Angel Heineckel let me know last week that she and Bob had been talking and were wanted to submit this for this South Road culvert that's been hanging there. You have to go out of your way to find it and see it, but it drops into a plunge pool. So it's an undersized pipe and it's been on a need to replace list for quite a while. I looked at it with Cindy and Scott a long time ago. And so anyway.
So what would this money come out of? What little-
Well, it would come out of highway fund balance.
Okay,
town funds. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay,
It's a good opportunity.
yeah. And you can see that, well, that's all, anyway, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Great. Everybody's agreeable tonight. Thank you. And you can see I went ahead and raced through the business agenda since we started there. I will now move back to reports. And we've already covered some of my reports, so supervisor's report. So the Ecrus Road project, Bob and I are hoping is finally going to be completed. We have a contractor and hoping the notice of award or no, the notice to proceed will go out next week. And get that project finished. And then the next item, the bullet point on in my note is what I just mentioned about, oh, I didn't mention this one. This is the Banks Road 6 Mile Creek project. So Soil and Water and Barton and Laguitas are preparing plans for that. So stay tuned. And then on July 7th, Tim and myself and Bob met with LaBella Engineering at the Highway Department for a couple of hours. They had one of the senior engineers with 3 interns that toured the property and asked questions and filled in their notes about needs assessment. I haven't heard anything since, so they're working on developing a plan in the next few weeks or next couple of months.
And I'll just add that was an extremely positive meeting, I think, on all sides.
Mhm.
And LaBella is gonna look at the entire site. And my understanding is probably end up giving options for how you could use upper and lower. So it's very flexible.
Oh, that's great.
And I think everybody seemed to be happy with that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. Yep. Great. Let's see. I just mentioned that I'm working on updating the benchmarking building. We did a building benchmarking thing for NYSERDA's Clean Energy Community High Impact Action Item a few years ago. So we want to get that updated for each year so we can see what the building energy use is over time. And actually what inspired me to start doing this was Mike Brown mentioned that we could qualify for another action item by preparing an informational display about the geothermal in this building and how that's affected the energy use over time.
That's a good idea.
So, yeah, and you just make if anybody wants to do, like an arts and crafts project, we need to make a little kiosk or something for a display here so that people see it. So,
Cool.
so
That'd be nice.
That could be like
that's an invitation.
that could be like an Eagle Scout project.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Good idea.
So, yeah,
Sounds good.
great idea. Okay. You know some Eagle Scouts?
I know some scouts that are trying to be Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I tried to be Eagle once.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I
A little
couldn't-
late now.
I couldn't pass the life-saving prep edge.
And then my last item is about the lead item for tonight's, just that we've been working on the restoration plan for this building. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Nope.
We'll move on then to the town clerk's report.
Okay, so I just want to report tonight that I am working in the records room. It's where I'll be spending most of my time. Last last week, on Thursday morning, I received 18 FOIL requests. And I have Velvet helping me pull records and get things in order. As I told the requester, and I'll just let the public know that any FOIL requests that come in will be answered in the order of which they were received. So if one happens to take a little bit longer, unfortunately, I have to monitor it that way. So that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. And I'll move on to any committee updates. If there are any, not necessary.
Trying to think.
It's been kind of quiet. We did
the highway.
Ithaca, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ithaca, Tompkins County Transportation Council is forgoing the meeting this month, meeting again next, there's like July. Because people are on vacations. And yeah, I mean, the broadband is slowly continuing. I mean, there's, that's about it. There's an ARC meeting on broadband funding Tuesday that I'm going to attend. So online. ARC is Appalachia Regional Council.
It's great.
Hi, sorry, Mark. I didn't know if you wanted to just mention about the Landon Road and Lounsbury Road speed limit.
Jesse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I should have put that in my report because it would have been a correspondence of note. I should have looked through the correspondence folder. So a while back, we did get a petition for speed limit reduction on Lounsbury and Landon roads. And so we followed the steps that we're supposed to follow. And we referred that to the county, and then the county referred that to the Department of Transportation. They then do a speed limit study. I don't know exactly how you do that, but they probably put little rubber things out in the road that say how many cars are going by and how fast they're going for a while. And anyway, we received a letter reporting that the speed limits have been changed. So, and it was, can you remind me what the speeds were? It was 40 and 45,
Yeah.
Right, Jesse?
That's right.
So 40 on Landon and 45 on Lounsbury.
Yeah. So, that's a win, that's success.
Major win.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be patient, so,
Very patient. Yeah.
About 2 years in the making.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
So
great.
now we just need to put something in for Level Green Road now. There's been a number of people talking about Level Green Road.
Speeding?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard it.
Flat, yeah. Okay.
Oh, down there, for 79,
Mhm.
okay. All right, let's see. I don't have any transfers for tonight. And I will offer a resolution to pay the town bills in the following totals for each fund. A or general fund, $12,626.80. The DA or highway fund, $114,320.30. And the streetlight fund, $213.92. Anybody want to second?
I'll
that?
second it.
Seconded by Kate.
Yeah.
And it would be hard to ask any questions about those bald numbers, but anyway, all in favor?
Okay.
Aye, opposed, great, so the bills are paid. And then any comments for Jesse on the July 6th meeting minutes?
Thought they were quite skillfully done.
Yes.
Yeah, they were good too. So great. Those are hereby approved. Thank you, Jesse. All right.
Are we going to do a special meeting next week to talk about the zoning law?
I don't know. What are your thoughts? I guess,
I mean, I think we need to keep this.
Keep it moving.
We didn't do it tonight, because we're going to turn to the
What?
site plan law.
Right,
Which is fairly
oh yeah,
that's right.
dense.
And we just met on
And,
that.
and I looked it over quite carefully. And there's not that much significant that got changed, but there's enough that was changed that we'd have to go through it, which is just gonna take some time. And since Cal wasn't gonna be here, I thought there was no sense in us doing that tonight and then having to redo it when he's able to rejoin us. So I recommended just pausing
yeah,
this discussion tonight.
yeah. I think that's good. I'm wondering, so the first set meeting in August is August 2nd.
Well, what if we met the 26th next Wednesday?
I can't meet Wednesday.
Okay.
And as I recall, Kate can't meet Tuesday, is that right? Can anybody meet Tuesday?
I could meet earlier on Tuesday, but that's hard on Jesse. Getting supper together. I could also meet during the days. And my Friday is open.
I might be able to do that in the summer,
To meet in the day.
in the day.
Next week might be, it depends on what day it is for me next week. I can meet in the day generally, but next week is a little bit,
Okay.
I just have to know what day it is. so.
Okay.
Is there a day that would work better for you, Michelle?
Wednesday might work, but Monday, Tuesday.
Would Wednesday in the day work for you, Mark?
In the day, I guess, yeah.
I wouldn't know what about Jesse though, because Jesse doesn't work on Wednesday.
Mhm.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And if we met, Jesse, if we met in the day, on a day when you're in the office, how would that impact the office, the clerk's office?
Would it work?
Would it work is what I'm asking.
Yeah, my only concern is Velvet's out on vacation now, so I'm on my own and I'm now 2 meeting minutes behind. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. But here's, I yeah, I was thinking that, I don't know. You're worried that August 2nd's too far down the line.
Well, I'm worried that our August 2nd is a regular board meeting and we don't get that much work done on the zoning law during a
Right.
regular board meeting.
I agree.
And so I do think that we're gonna have to have some extra meetings.
Yeah.
Maybe next week isn't the week to do that. Maybe we'll have to wait until August, but August hits vacation season for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's just my concern. I mean, so just in terms of what we've covered and what we haven't walked through in the zoning law. Thinking towards being in a position to think about announcing a public hearing. The sections after site plan are primarily administrative.
Mhm.
I don't anticipate that it's going to take us that long to review those sections. Maybe the one that might be the most trickiest is the administrative section itself, which I think is section 10 or 11. Then we have to tighten up the definitions, or number of definitions that are missing.
Yeah, we have a few, I guess.
So, but we've really made a lot of progress.
Mhm.
And so once we go through site plan, which might take us a meeting or two, you know, we might have to make some decisions. One of the decisions that we're gonna have to make that was recommended by the zoning commission is currently for site plan review, there's a 2-step review. They recommended going to a 1-step review. That's a big decision to make because there are a lot of ramifications. On the one hand, it simplifies the process a lot. On the other hand, it could make it more difficult for the review board. So that's one big thing that we'll have to talk about. Many of the others are really pretty, I mean, there's some add-ons in terms of some requirements, limitations, but those are the sort of things we can just go point by point. None of them are tremendously
Yeah, I agree.
mind-blowing, so we should be able to make decisions about those sorts of things pretty rapidly.
Mhm.
And what I've done is I have gone through and delineated all the changes from the original site, from the current site plan law.
Mhm.
So
To see how they
I'll
compare.
be ready to present, you know, I can present everybody with a table and that sort of thing, once we get to it. But since that initial work was undertaken by the task force. And then the zoning commission then tweaked the task force's recommendations. Then a lot of it got changed simply because of where to put things in order in the zoning law. So I noticed there are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 significant paragraphs that used to be here. They're now over here, or even in a different section of zoning law. But in most of those cases, the language didn't significantly change, just the placement changed. So that's not gonna kill us to look at. So I do think that if we could put in the time of at least 2 more dedicated sessions, we should be.
Yeah, I think the key will be that we're really well prepared, that we have a good agenda, and we know which items we want to look at. It's the way a lot of the zoning commission meetings were.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that we have the latitude. Almost every time that we've talked about issues, there have been some issues that we've tabled for the next meeting to give it more thinking, to give it more thought. So that's bound to happen also as we continue to move forward. So we're just trying to keep us on track. That's all.
Sure.
Well, as you know, as I said, I mean, meeting wise time, I am pretty open during the days. I think
I'm
so.
worried about how that's gonna work for
Right.
Jesse.
Well, I mean, whether it's the meeting in the afternoon or and any extra meeting would be extra, Jesse, to have to write up, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesse, for these meetings where we're discussing, I might have asked this already in the past. If we're, for the special meetings where we're going through the zoning law, would it be possible to record the meetings for you then to use later? Or is that not possible? I'm just talking about legality. I just can't remember the answer to that.
Yeah, no, the clerk has to be present at the meetings.
But I thought
That was the
wasn't
language.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
I can make it work next week. Wednesday's not good for me.
What day is good for you, Jesse?
I mean, I guess if you're talking about during the day, it doesn't really matter. I guess I need to know in advance because I'll have to make plans for the afternoon because I've got too much to do during the day to be meeting for, more than an hour. So
What if is it possible, Jesse, to do it during the day after the office closes, or does that put too much personal pressure on you?
Is usually,
I assume you must have to do daycare and stuff.
What if we just met like a little less than 2 hours or an hour? Would we get anything done, do you think? Like an hour and a half?
No,
Right.
you won't get anything done in that time.
Thank you.
that's an objective.
Easy on you.
You know us too well.
I think I
can stay at the office, one day, like Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. I can stay after at 2 and do it.
Thursday might work for me.
Thursday.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday.
Mhm.
I forget what's
Should
happening Monday.
Should we
Tuesday.
tentatively set Thursday?
So Thursday, 2?
Thursday,
Yeah.
the 27th, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we've
So
got
Thursday
the
at 2, I could.
board meeting at 10. I mean, not the board meeting, the broadband meeting, just as BR. so
Yeah.
something. No, because we have the broadband meeting tomorrow, so that, okay, never mind.
Not a TCOG meeting that Thursday, is there?
That's probably a TCOG meeting that day. Is that the fourth Thursday?
Yeah.
So Bruce,
They supposed to be open to the public.
they're there. Yeah, they'll be open.
In the daytime.
Yeah. We've done it before,
You can do it on Zoom, right?
huh?
You can do it on, they're on Zoom, right?
They would be hybrid.
Yeah, so
So. But that actually, so Mondays and Tuesdays wouldn't work. Right, because the courts got hours then, so.
Do they have hours on Tuesday? Yes. Yes, the clerk has hours. That won't work.
Even Wednesday
Yeah.
too, so,
Okay. The TCOG is at 3.
3,
I haven't gotten a notice about this TCOG. Is you sure we're having one in July?
I'm not sure, but I think so. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I think I saw some
Well,
email.
what if we met at 1? Or at noon? What if we met at 1 or at noon or something on Thursday?
I can't do it until 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thursday.
I mean, I actually, I kind of, I like the idea of an evening meeting, actually, but
I like it meetings too.
Well, it's sounding like next week isn't gonna work. So I think what we should do is
I think,
plan the agenda meeting around going through
yeah,
the site plan law.
that's what I was suggesting. Yep, I do too. And I think we
I
should,
just wanted to do it the week before so that
right,
then we
Right,
can do
then we
something
can-
else.
Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, I think if we,
okay,
I like that idea, and I think the week before, we can spend our energy on,
Mhm.
reviewing it. Putting items on the list that we wanna, and having a real clear idea of what we wanna.
So what are you working from? Are you still working from the report that was initially
Yeah.
given to you?
Yep.
Okay,
So what, for this section, what it is ends up being a revision of our current site plan law.
Okay.
So we have to be clear about what we're changing. So that then just requires a step-by-step comparison of the changes that are being made,
right, and where
pretty
things,
much.
so Tim was explaining that things got moved around.
Yep.
And put in different places, so we're trying to understand that. How the
Yeah.
law worked, how it would.
It's something that I'd like everybody to think about in the meantime. And I think we should also go back and return to asking you, Mark, to go back to some folks on the review board just to get their opinion
Yeah,
about
I was curious about that.
single or double process. You know, because I remember that Craig, my recollection is that Craig had some reservations about that change.
Who serves on
It'd be
the,
helpful for
who
us.
serves on the site plan review board right now?
Bruce, and
Craig.
Ellen Harrison.
Sue, Ellen stepped down, Don Barber. So it's a 4-member board now.
Wait, so Bruce, not Ellen.
Craig,
Craig.
sure.
Just 3 then, Bruce, Craig, Don. Who am I missing?
Sue Pierce Kelly.
Okay.
And the reason the zoning commission, I mean, might help get it into people's minds. The reason the zoning commission encouraged by Nan to go to a one-step review process is partially because as she counseled the zoning commission, most review boards do only a one-step thing, which is less onerous to the applicants. But it could be more onerous to the review board trying to get all the ducks in the order in just one meeting.
Well, let's look at it and,
Yeah.
and talk about it with the review board. So,
I believe when we discussed it, correctly, he was for it.
Oh, he was for
yeah,
it.
I thought so too.
I remember just the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Oh, I thought then it's probably not a problem.
Okay.
For some reason, I remember the opposite.
Anyway, we'll
How do
find
the
out.
others feel
Yeah,
about
We'll find out.
Everybody seems to think they're.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, good. And if that's the case, then it'll even be simpler to review it, because that's really the biggest change.
We may actually have review board minutes from that meeting. I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah.
So we should get those and see what their
Yep.
recommendations were, their thoughts. I like that.
Can I get an updated paper copy of?
Yep.
I think the one I have written down is. pretty
Sure,
updated.
Of course. And Michelle, we have made changes up to now, and Mark actually made a list of the changes that we made up to date.
I'll give you
That I can share
a
with you.
list of those.
Yeah, mine are all good places now, so,
I didn't see what I-
yeah.
Has anyone, I'm sorry, has anyone had an opportunity to review with Cal of what was discussed Monday night?
Not yet, no, I have been, yeah, I'll reach out to Cal, Jesse. But yeah. Yeah, I've been.
Wanted to give him space.
Yeah, I've been leaving him alone. Well, he's, yeah. But yeah. And I think that's the other good reason not to have a meeting next week, because I don't know what Cal's.
Yeah, no, we want, yeah, that's
ability
right.
is.
Right,
So,
okay, sounds good.
um,
And I will mention that today Nan sent a draft for the first stage of seeker. I haven't looked at it, I doubt you have either.
Okay.
And so that's also gonna be another step in the process, but we had a meeting, Mark and I had a meeting in June with Nan and Guy to trade notes about how both of them would best like to proceed in that direction, so they have a game plan, so that's now
That's in play.
in play, which is good.
all right. And Jesse, that Michelle will need to do an oath, right? Take her oath of office, correct?
Yes, within the next 30 days.
Oh. And what is stop?
Just go to Jesse's office and
Okay.
it'll take you about 2 minutes. So.
You have to go at dawn though. and
Yes.
Yeah. It was a joke.
Maybe she could tell me what
Yeah.
roads I should wear.
Great. Anything else for tonight?
That's all I have.
That's it.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Summer.
Yeah, it's summer. We've had shorter meetings, but anyway. If there's nothing more, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, like it's about 8:05.
I'll go sign the vouchers.
Great.